Divorce lawyers of Reddit. What is the most ridiculous reason your client filed divorce for? I had two couples come to me. They had been friends for nigh on 15 years. Husband A decided he liked wife B more than wife A. Wife A decided she likes husband B more than husband A. The reverse was also true, and husband B preferred wife A. Wife B preferred husband A. The couples had near identical assets in terms of value. They came to me all together, and I drafted 2 sets of paperwork. 2 default judgment hearings were set on the same day. The judge signed all the papers the same day. A week after that, they all went to a JP and remarried. The husbands swapped houses and they all went about their lives exactly as they had the week before, but each slightly happier. He loved his pinball machine collection more than her. Also, it turns out some pinball machines can be worth a shitload of money. Not me, but my friend who specializes in family law. Wife wanted to divorce husband because he kept taking their dogs for walks while she was at work, making it unintentionally so they'd rather cuddle the husband instead of her after a long day. I'm not a divorce lawyer, but this case appeared in one of my case books in law school. Basically, a couple got married but never lived together. Shortly after marriage, the husband dropped off the face of the earth and the wife had no way of contacting him. She didn't know any of his family, and apparently the place he told her he worked at never heard of him. He disconnected his cell phone and she even hired a private detective to try and locate him with no success. Finally, she tried to file for divorce, for obvious reasons, but for service to be considered valid the defendant has to be physically handed service papers. Since she couldn't find out where he was, she couldn't even get divorced from him. She had to sue in court just to get permission from a judge to allow service through Facebook, because that was literally the only means she had of contacting her husband. Divorce lawyer here. One client filed for divorce because he owed his bookie $70,000. He didn't want to leave his wife, but he figured he would get half the house in the divorce, which was worth $700,000, and pay his debts. He had already blew through their life savings gambling. He was the worst guy. I heard of a woman that had her marriage annulled because the groom insisted to bring his mother on their honeymoon. Then, on the honeymoon, the bride discovered the reason he wanted to bring his mother was to breastfeed him. Yes, the groom, a grown man, was still breastfeeding. My boss just got divorced. His wife was telling people one of the reasons was the amount of toilet paper he used. She was a super coupon clipper thrifty lady and would listen when he went to the bathroom to see if he was using too much TP. Not a divorce lawyer, but have done marriage therapy. Had a soldier stationed at Guantanamo Bay that met a local. Fell madly in love. They decided to get married so she could come with him back in the States once his tour was done. She was working on American dishes and was making spaghetti. He comes home from work one day and she's making it. She puts the meat in, puts the canned sauce in, and then pulls an unlabeled bag out of the freezer and adds it to the sauce. At this point in the session, she's hysterically crying with broken Spanglish. She's trying to explain she didn't know any better. Through the hysteria, he informs me her mother and grandmother told her if she wanted to keep her man, she needed to put her menstrual blood in his food. It was so hard to keep my composure. I was trying too hard not to gag. They both described they were madly in love, but he couldn't let it go. They ended up getting a divorce. Having done this for 14 years, I have found it 100% accurate that truth is stranger than fiction. Not a divorce lawyer, but there's this famous case that all law students know about. The wife asked for annulment of marriage because almost a year into the marriage, they still haven't had sex. The husband has been avoiding it for almost a year, and later on the court found out that he actually only has a 2-inch penis. My mother-in-law divorced my father-in-law so she could have a fresh start with her dream job of teaching blind children to read. Turns out, what she meant by that was destroy my father-in-law's pastor career by telling everyone he was abusive. Got married to the guy she'd secretly been carrying on with. He's a convicted child sex offender. She has grandchildren. She's in a state of complete denial. He didn't help her put up a shower curtain. It may have been a straw that broke the camel's back situation though. Best reason, cops showed up to tell her that her husband is a violent child sex offender and she's now aiding and abetting BC. Her house is next to a school. Lawyer here. One of mine that sticks out is that the husband and wife both played some sort of online role-playing game. Sort of like The Sims I think, but a little more elaborate and adult. Second Life maybe? I don't know anything about online games. The wife got heavily involved with the game, like 10 hours a day, and wouldn't reduce her time playing, no matter what he said. What tipped things over the edge however was that he set up a fake profile avatar and went online to stalk her in the game and found her avatar having sex with some random guy's avatar. Nothing ever happened in real life. Neither of them were exactly oil paintings to look at, but that was enough for the guy to initiate a very acrimonious divorce. Not a lawyer, but did spend 6 months costing legal aid cases for solicitors in the early 90s. This included many divorces. The most notable one was a woman divorcing her husband because he discovered he could talk to the dead on their honeymoon, and then later spent all their money on spiritualist groups. That wasn't what made it notable. During the divorce, the woman left the house. At some point her husband approached her and claimed that as he was letting the house fall into ruin, it would be better for both of them if he sold the house and split the proceeds with her. She agreed to this without consulting her solicitor. A few weeks later the husband gave her £5. She asked what it was for. It was her share of the house. He'd sold it to his sister for £10 and kept living there. When she went to complain to her solicitors, she found they'd done the conveyancing for him. He'd deliberately used his wife's divorce solicitors and nobody at the firm had realized. One couple that I'm close to were in the process of filing for divorce. Papers were served and lawyers were involved. But the husband put down for one of his reasons why things were irreconcilable was because she would shit in his bathroom. I'm sure not exactly in those words. Happy to say that they worked through that issue and are still together. Estate's paralegal here. Saw a divorce where the defendant stopped cooking, and when the petitioner gave the defendant money for food, ate his, so was phrased as housekeeping money, the defendant would disappear for 2 weeks and play bingo. The defendant also lost interest in the child. The bingo comment and stopping cooking comment will forever be ingrained in my head. Not an attorney but a paralegal. This isn't why they filed, but the guy didn't think his wife should be able to divorce him because she had Lyme's disease. He thought that having had this impaired her mental facilities, and therefore she was not in her right mind to make this decision. We were just the gal for the kids, so every so often we would get calls from him going on and on about this. Heard this one while mobbing for deployment. Guy signs over power of attorney to his mother before leaving. As soon as he was out of the country, mother files for divorce of the wife because they never got along. Dude is in the middle of the desert and didn't know until he came back in 3 weeks after the fact. Not a lawyer, but 2 stories. Wife wanted to divorce her husband on their wedding day because he fought with her father over the bill. Another was a woman who divorced her husband of the week because she's been in love with someone else for several months and found out the other guy loved her too. They're married and have a kid together now. A friend of mine divorced her husband because his dick was too big. They were dating about 6 months, got a courthouse wedding, and separated about 6 months after. She said it was fun at first, but the sex became too much work. She said it took a lot of preparation. Apparently, as well, he was pushing for some bud stuff. When she first told me offhand, I refused to believe it. She showed me a picture of them dancing at their reception and holy shit was this guy packing heat. A friend of the family got divorced by her husband because she couldn't outperform him on the golf course. We all think he was cheating and just wanted an excuse, but she did say he would often yell at her in public while golfing and mock her for her attention, to detail whatever the fuck that means in golf. He would also force the family to go golfing on most weekends, so it's hard to say if that was the real reason or not. She doesn't even like golf but was, and still is, afraid to tell him that. My dad has been married several times, more than 4. His last wife asked him to rub her feet, and he said no. She told him to get the fuck out. He was super excited and said okay bye, you will hear from my attorney. Obviously that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Makes me laugh every time someone asks why did they split up. No feet rub for you.